We're going to call the meeting to order, 7:06. Welcome, thank you all once again, my normal folks who come every meeting. We're going to take a picture at the end of the year and put it in the yearbook, is what I've decided. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda tonight?
Other than adding 5.6 to distribute the baseline.
Oh, we're going to distribute the baseline?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So adjustments to the agenda will be distributing a baseline budget, 5.6. We are going to start with a quick discussion about Act 46. There's a Act 46 committee that we've talked about here before. They've met a number of times between the full committee and subcommittees. A report needs to be filed by our district to the state AOE about our district and the possibilities of unification of all our towns into one school district. No decision has been made about whether that unification would go to a vote, but that seems to be where it's moving towards. A vote would be later in the spring, early May, June timeframe if it happens. You're going to have lots of questions, I swear. Hang on 2 seconds. Go ahead, tell me.
Would the community be voting, or is it the school board?
Yes. And any unification has to be voted on by the community. That's part of the statute. And so let me add right up front, December 1st, at the Charlotte Library, there's going to be a budget forum, a budget meeting, and immediately following that will be an Act 46 public forum for what I assume will be you 5 to come to. But hopefully there'll be more folks.
We might be.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. So I just give an update of what has been talked about, what a unified district might look like. And overall, the biggest immediate change is governance. There are currently there are 7 school boards in our district. Those would be consolidated into one. We have chucked about the size of that school board, how it would be run. Would it be 12 people, 13 people, 18 people, and how those people would get appointed. And what is being talked about is a 12-person board. Charlotte in particular would have 2 members on that board, 2 for Heinsberg, 3 for Shelburne, 4 for Williston, and 1 for St. George, to come up to 12. And the Charlotte representatives would be elected out of the Charlotte community. Nobody's at large. That sort of thing. The whole operation would run a pre-K to 12 school district through the buildings that we currently have. There are assets and liabilities of all these school districts. We're still waiting on reports on what those look like. The current thinking is those would all be thrown into a pot and be shared as one school district. That is still up for discussion to some degree. There are contracts currently outstanding with our teachers, with our paraeducators. Those would be honored, obviously, through their end as currently prescribed. Interestingly, right as the new school board would become effective, we'd have a new teacher's contract at the same time. Just the way the timing has worked out. Lots of discussions about buildings and schools as they currently exist. At least in the near term, the district would look pretty much the way it looks right now. No buildings are going to be closed. Actually, through the statute, I believe this is correct, the first 4 years you couldn't close a building even if you wanted to. We're really not in that situation. There's too many kids. We couldn't close a building and put them all someplace because they just wouldn't fit. But going further, with some sort of choice between districts, if there's somebody in Heinsberg that wanted to go to Charlotte, could they do that right away? These are conversations we're having, but obviously much easier if we're all one school district. We've had 2 situations in the last 2 years where people have moved out of town who wanted to stay in the Charlotte building for 1 year, where we haven't done that because they would have to tuition into our school. That would be easier under that sort of scenario. And the other, as we're in budget season, as the forum will be right after our budget forum, the budget would be consolidated. We'd have one budget for the entire operation, consolidated up at the school district. That would look like about a $70 million budget to run the whole thing. You got to say your name and.
Okay, so Andrew Hagney, what about debt, Mark? What will happen to the existing debt, and what about future debt offerings?
So future debt offerings are easy. They become debt of the whole district. Going forward, if Charlotte wants a new school, the school district would put out a bond for a new school, and that would be covered by the district. Now, obviously, it'd probably be, instead of one bond for a school, you probably have a big repair bond for 4 different reasons in 4 different towns and that sort of thing. Right now, it looks like we probably consolidate all the debt that's currently outstanding, but we haven't seen the reports on that yet, so that's still being talked about.
Is the district currently rated?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know.
It doesn't exist, so it can't be.
Well, yeah, but I guess you were asking about the SU.
Right, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But does the SU issue debt?
No, not so.
So they would probably just go through the bond bank? Is that?
Yeah, that's the way we do it. Yes.
So I just have a couple observations. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Lynn Johnson. So my first observation is, and it could just be me and my computer, but the website that y'all built,
Mm-hmm.
I can only get to if I Google it or if I go through the report. I can't on that Act 46 thingamajig.
So I actually think that changed today.
Okay.
But that's we know that, and it's
That you can
either
get
fixed
to.
or going to be fixed immediately, yes.
Okay, so, and then another observation, because I love to read meeting minutes in my spare time. It strikes me, I think one of the charges of the committee is to define the benefits and the challenges of consolidation.
Mm-hmm.
I can't find that anywhere. And I get the big picture, I kind of know where we're going, but I think it's really helpful if the committee actually defined what the benefits and the challenges are for people who haven't been intimately involved with the school district. And most strikingly, I think what's missing is the academic piece. There is governance, there's finance, there's communication. What are the academic benefits and challenges to consolidating? And I don't know if, I haven't seen anywhere where that's really been addressed in the meeting minutes, but again, I could be missing something.
All our meetings are public. Please come.
I know.
But yes, underlying all of this is what's in the best interest of our students. And part of writing that report, so we have to write a report to the Agency of Education for the state of Vermont, no matter what we do. It's required by the statute. And that part of that report is benefits and challenges. And yes, the meeting minutes are very dry. I think they missed some of that conversation. But
even if on like your frequently asked questions, there's no what are the benefits and the challenges of consolidating. And I think that's the first part of your charge.
That actually is coming. Yes, we noticed. Yes.
I'm just
No. I'm happy. I'm glad you noticed because I thought maybe nobody did.
And along those same lines, I was thinking during Megan's presentation of the common topic, is there a benefit, and I don't know, Megan, if we were to consolidate, does that have special ed benefits? And I'm thinking, if you have some special educators who are really specialized, they have special training in autism, and then we would be allowed to move students from Charlotte to Shelburne because that's where that particular expertise is. Is that a benefit, or it doesn't? Do you see that as a benefit or not?
I think on some level, we could do that already as a consolidated special ed system if we were thinking of that from a special ed service standpoint. I would say that those conversations are always tempered with we don't want to create schools in the CSSU where this is where all the kids with autism go, and this is where all the kids with. So, but So I don't necessarily think that I think those conversations will happen irregardless because they can happen now since we're a consolidated special ed system. What I would say is that it's hard to consolidate just one part of your organization, which is what we've had to do with consolidating special ed. So one benefit to it would be the whole organization is consolidated, not just one part of it.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Sorry, Mark, I just have one quick question.
Do you have to say your name?
Oh, sorry, Rowan Beck. I didn't catch the meeting beforehand, but I do see the benefits of a consolidation, but I do think, I don't know, are you set on Williston will have 4, Charlotte will have 2, Shelburne will have 2? Like, what are you gonna do? Because Williston seems to have a very heavy voice, like that's gonna be a hard sell to some people that we're gonna feel like.
Well, so for two reasons. Well, really one reason. It's if you do it proportionally, constitutionally, one person, one vote, then Williston does have that many more people than Charlotte does. So this operates already. We have something. Is CVU 12 members, or is it 11? So CVU, our kids, a third of our students already go to school basically under that structure.
Right, I'm just saying, put a nice PR spin on it,
Oh,
because
yeah.
like, people are gonna hear 4 for Williston,
Yeah.
and they're gonna,
Yep. Yep, understood.
You could come to a CVU meeting and see how it works. I mean, that's.
Yes. Yeah, but I do understand the issue, and we did look at different size boards. And if you go below 12, our proportion falls to 1 member. And if you go to say like 14, all of a sudden Heinsberg gets 3 and we have 2. And 12, for us, 12 was a really good compromise number until you get to like 18, and then it makes you getting really big. So I do want to stress, December 1st, budget forum starts at 6, budget meeting somewhere thereafter, and Act 46 forum at 7. So we're there a long time. Come see us. I don't want to hold you from your meeting.
It's gonna be fun.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for listening to that. So 3.0 is the part of our agenda where the audience gets to say whatever they want. Something that's not on the agenda that you wanted to talk about. Yes.
Hi, I'm Rowan Beck, and I'm coming today because I'm really feeling like there's a big disconnect with the disciplinary actions that happen at school. I feel like I've been a frequent flyer this year. I've had 2 incidences with my 2 remaining children at CCS. One was a perpetrator, one was a victim. The first one, my daughter left the dance and did not tell a chaperone, and she was poorly behaved and she was reprimanded. But when I arrived, I was told that they were within moments of calling the police, the state police, because of the policy of the amount of time that the children were missing. Okay, I totally get that. I respect the policy. However, the punishment was basically delivered a few weeks later. I was probably harder on my child than the school was, as she had to come home and write a letter of accountability to the principal the very next day. She had to miss a dance and like set up for the dance, and it wasn't like, to me, you're gonna call the cops, but you were like moments from calling the cops, and she's only gonna miss a dance. Like, she would probably kill me if she heard me saying this, but quite honestly, the punishment did not fit the crime in that particular instance. Secondly, my daughter I don't like using the word victim, but something was written about her on the bathroom wall that was extremely inappropriate. It has been deemed a level 3 offense in the disciplinary action realm, which means when you go through level 3 in the handbook, on I think it's like page 89 or 92, I can't quite remember, I was going to bring my sheet with me, but it says suspension, expulsion, apology is one of them. It was determined by the school and behavioral specialists that it was a physical aggression against her. They actually wrote rape on the bathroom wall. And you know, I've been communicating with the principals, I've been communicating with the behavioral specialists. They invited me to come in and talk. Again, I was a little riled up and had to sort of take a breath and relax. They told me that they couldn't, I don't care who did it, but to this day, my daughter has not received an apology, and this happened over a week ago. And that's one of the consequences of the action. I repeat myself, I do not care who the student was. I don't really want to know who the student was, but writing rape on a bathroom wall is a serious offense. Every 107 seconds, there's a sexual assault in the US. And I think and my daughter knows that she was notified at school that she may never know who it was, but you know, we've both been told that we just have to trust that it's gonna be taken care of, and she's never gonna know what the consequence is, she's never gonna know who did it, whatever. And you know, that's completely fine, but they said that because of FERPA, they couldn't tell me who the student was. I don't want to know what the student was, and I couldn't know the disciplinary action or any of that because of FERPA. Well, FERPA is, I looked up the law, and that is about educational reports. And I understand that you have confidentiality, but that sort of becomes null and void when a level 3 consequence is an apology to the student. And so I'm really frustrated. I've been with this school for 14 years. I've had one child that went through, and there was no bullying at school, but I believe she was bullied. And I really think you guys need to look at your policies. I think you need to figure it out. I think you need to have a firmer hand. I think it's very difficult for this administration that's coming in because they're brand new, but there is a real disconnect, and I'm really irritated and I'm really fired up about the fact that, you know, it's been over a week. Like, you don't just write rape on the bathroom wall. You just don't.
Okay.
So
I agree with you.
what are you guys all going to do about it? Are you going to start reviewing your policies? Like, this is a problem that's been going on for a year, not the rape problem, writing of that on the wall, but the problem of discipline and bullying and policies. Like, I've been coming to meetings for years. And it just sort of feels like in the last couple of years I've gotten a little more vocal. I don't know why. Maybe it's because my ratio is building with children. But something has to be done. Like, you're not sending a good message to the kids, and you're certainly not sending a good message to the parents.
It's a tough situation, Rowan. I don't know if you can, I mean, my child was physically assaulted at CVU last year, and I also asked for an apology, and none came. Never
But
got a
it's in
call
your
from that
handbook.
parent.
It's in the handbook as one of the things.
But
So
it's
if you're
an
not going to have it,
it's-
take it out.
It's an option available. I don't have the policy in front of me. So I think, you know, we don't know, and we can't know the particulars as a board. We can't know the particulars, and the administration, I think, has to deal with each situation as it is. We don't know anything about that other student. We don't know what those circumstances are. We don't know what the consequence was. And it would just rise to our level if something was going to happen, such as an expulsion. I think I can't speak to it, but I think probably whether or not that particular student, if it was an appropriate consequence for them to write the apology is something that would have to be within the discretion. We can't mandate that in every situation that it would be required, because we just don't know the circumstances.
Right, but what I'm asking for is that if you're gonna have a handbook and you're gonna have consequences, that it should be written out in a way that if this happens, this is the consequence. I mean, we don't have airy-fairy, or maybe we do, I don't know. In my house, we do not have, you do this, this is what happens. Like, we're talking about treating kids with respect and kindness and all of these things, but if they don't know what the consequence is, like, you're gonna facilitate, it's gonna keep happening. So I guess you guys need to, I guess I'm asking for you guys to look at your policies and really look at the handbook and really write it down. If you do X, Y is going to happen.
I mean, I don't speak for the whole board. I don't see how we can do that. You could have a kid on an IEP for some really challenging behavioral issues. And I think a consequence that would happen for that kid for an event would have to differ greatly from a child in the general education population. I don't see how we can have a one-size-fits-all consequence for every behavior that we can anticipate at school. But I speak just for myself. I think it would be nice for parents and for students to have that. You know, if you don't empty the dishwasher at home, this is your consequence, don't get whatever. But I think it's just a little bit more challenging and complex in this realm, in the providing discipline at school. But as I said, I speak only for myself, not the whole board.
So, right, and the other problem is there's far too many situations to say X and Y. There has to be a, yes, okay, so that's one example.
Call the police because she's outside and she's missing from the
Understood,
dance,
Rowan.
and I totally get that, then punish her.
Well, and I'm glad that you at home did so as well, that some parental responsibility is welcome in all realms. Yes, if the situation rose to a certain level and, well, so you're bringing it here, which is great. There should be communication between us, between you. If both situations have been handled in various forms as inappropriately, and you believe that, those complaints get registered with us and they get fed into the feedback loop as what happens next time. Now, I don't know the second situation, which I deem much more serious. And I having just heard about it right now, I can't tell you exactly what's going on, but I understand your frustration that the apology is in the handbook, but it's an option, and it's one that can be used in a different situation. Now, I don't know what the punishment that was handed out with this,
I don't either.
but
I don't even know if there was one. I just have to trust that it's going to be handled appropriately.
well, and our hands are tied a little by FERPA. That's not just a throwaway line. It's a federal law that does tie our hands as to what can be meted out in public. I understand, but I understand the title of the statute isn't very informative, but it's like 20 pages long. And to tell you that I understand the whole thing, it wouldn't be true either. Yeah, so those policies get reviewed all the time. And every time you come and tell us something, it gets fed in. Like, I can't tell you that tonight something's gonna change.
No.
But
I'm
something
not
is changing because you're asking about it.
But can you see how it's confusing?
I understand.
for a
I understand
parent?
how it's confusing, but, and yes, if things can be clearer, they should be made more clear.
I mean, and you're supposed to be here to support whatever the administration is trying to do.
Well,
So-
we're here to support the parents, the administration, and the children. It's not just the administration. But, so if that needs to be made more clear, yes, it's something we should look at. But again, it's something that it's in consistent flux.
What would be nice, though, to possibly put on a future agenda, and I have asked about this at the CVU level as well, is that I don't think the procedures used by administrators are accessible to the board, let alone the general public. I could be wrong, I haven't checked in the last year or so, but I think if there's a way we can have that, and I know procedures change a lot more frequently than policy, but if that were accessible, then a parent could go in and look at, this is what the administration does when there's this type of complaint. And I think some of the procedures are attached to policies, but I know at CVU there's a book they give to the teachers, and I've never seen that online. I don't know if at CCS we have a book or but that might be something to address in a future, as a future agenda item. Is there a way we can have that information better available?
And actually, so further, we're going to hear some about the climate and discipline tonight in our principals report, so that's going to continue. But you've been wanting to say something for like 5 minutes. Yeah, please state your name for the record.
Monica Marshall. I've been subbing in the school for almost a full year now. And I know that our mission or mantra for the school is respect yourselves, your school, and others. And our school, what happened here is the tip of the iceberg. There's no respect in this school. The students, it's embarrassing how bad it is. And, you know, you all have kids in the school, and when I go in as a substitute and I'm in a second grade, where that is the age where the kids should still be looking at adults with awe of some sort. You know, they love school and they want, and that's not the case. And these are not all special needs kids. These, and individually, they're great kids. But when they get into a group, and I walk in and the teacher looks at me and says, and it has happened in every single grade except for one grade. Every grade, I've been told by the teacher, this is a hard class. This is a really hard class. You need to be very careful. You need to be, you know, you really need to watch what's going on. I'm a substitute. I walk in and I have an educational background and I'm not nervous about the students, and to get told that, and then sure enough, within 5 minutes, having a child dismiss me or, you know, throw attitude when you tell them to sit in their seat, it kind of it reaffirms what she's saying, is that is the kids, they don't feel like there's any consequences. And they definitely look at me like, especially the older they get, they definitely have a look in their eye like, go ahead and try it. I had one grade, it was the 8th grade, and there was a situation, and I told the teacher, and she looked at me, she goes, oh yeah, well that's a tough grade. Well, there's nothing I can do about it, because I wasn't there. And then she walked away. Now, that made me want to stop subbing, because I'm like, you don't even respect me enough to take what I just told you as truth. And this is one of the reasons why you have so few subs. Paraeducators are talking about it. One told me that she feels that the school is in a crisis. So unless the principal report has some good new way of getting these kids in line, it's doggone scary. That's why people are leaving. They're pulling their kids. And it's really hard to listen and watch and go in. I'm going to be subbing Thursday and Friday. I don't want to go. I really don't. And I'm probably kicking myself, but it's knowing that the class, I have to go in there on the defensive as soon as I walk in. It's just uncalled for. And I really believe it is because these kids have never experienced any repercussions, be it, I mean, they don't see any repercussions. They don't see any change with anybody, no matter what happens. I actually had the kids, I shut their recess off because of misbehavior of 3 kids, and the paraeducator thanked me. Why aren't our teachers doing that? That's what I don't get. It's at some point, it has to be done. and the administration, I know you're new, and I feel sorry for you for coming in with this, but it's pretty scary in there. It really is.
I was gonna say I have 2 points, but I really only have one. It's good to bring these things up now, but don't wait. Why wait? You know, send an email to us, send an email to the administration. And let's nip things in the bud when they happen. I'm not gonna get into a debate about kids today versus kids 20 years ago. Because we're hardly the only school board who's hearing this. I think
I mean, if I could just add one more thing, is that, after the conversations that I have had with my daughter, it's really sort of sad that she feels like it doesn't really matter. Like what happened, it's no big deal, Mommy, it doesn't really matter. It's really hard, because she does matter. I think every kid in that school matters. So just think about that. You've got things happening to kids, and they're going home, and they basically feel like they just don't matter.
on that uplifting note, we're gonna move on. Thank you. I encourage people to come to meetings, and this is the reason why. We're gonna move on to presentations. We have a presentation tonight from Mr. Andy Smith about our current arts, music, theater, and band course.
No, it's right over here.
My flashlight. Flashlight. Excellent. You can go ahead, Lauren. Thank you. All right. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you about the band program at Charlotte Central School this evening. Throughout my 20-plus year career, I've seen firsthand how instrumental music creates good listeners and communicators, two critical pieces of being a good musician and two exceptional qualities for any vocation. I have witnessed how music education fosters creative problem solvers, an essential characteristic for this generation, and how music students score higher on assessments in disciplines outside of music. There's ample research that indicates that studying an instrument makes you smarter. The most recent study I read by Christopher Johnson, professor of music education at Kansas University, found jumps of 22% in language arts test scores and 20% in math. As I was reviewing data with Jeff Evans from Central Office this fall, I thought to myself, we at CCS could be a case study. Our scores, as I'm sure you are aware, are very impressive compared to not only the state average, but the SU average as well. Our participation rates in band are unusually high. Currently, 100% of the fifth graders, 96% of the sixth graders, which is all but 2 students, who are receiving support this year and working their way back into the program for next year, and 70% of all 7th and 8th graders participate in band. We're the smallest school in the SU in the district with the largest percentage of participation. As our population has declined in the past 5 years, our band numbers have actually grown. Generous grants from our fabulous PTO and friends at the Heinsberg Artist Series have helped put instruments in the hands of those who may have not otherwise had the opportunity. But band at Charlotte Central School goes way beyond test scores, communication skills, and problem solving. Band at CCS creates community and a sense of belonging. Everyone needs to belong to something. As a member of the ensemble, students are working toward the same goal. Everyone contributes to the overall success of the group. A few years back, we had a student with a severe case of CP, and she could use her left arm basically only. And she wanted to be in the band. And she attended to the crash cymbal, sometimes overlooked by other percussionists, but she said that's what she could do, and it was never paid any closer attention to. And students recognized her for that. It made a difference. She made a difference. In band, we're becoming part of something much greater than ourselves. None of us could accomplish what we all do collectively. Students learn that none of us are as strong as all of us, and they take their responsibility to the group very seriously. Another short story, last year when a health issue broke that I'm sure you all remember, it happened to break on the very day of our first 5th and 6th grade concert. And on the 11th hour, we had to pull the plug and decide to postpone the show. The students were assembled, and I have a vision of these two little rough and tumble trumpet players with their ties on and their collars sort of flipped up and looking handsome, and their hair was slicked back but still sort of disheveled at the same time. And when we told them it was postponed, I happened to look into the bleachers, and they buried their heads in their hands, totally bummed out. And I had to remind them, it's just postponed. So their heart was there. They were totally invested. It's common to have the band room filled with students during lunch and recess, diagnosing performance challenges and prescribing solutions, which was our learning target for the month of October. It's also common to see our students helping our older students helping the less experienced musicians. You'll see some of that in the photos. The younger children are excited to become part of the tradition of excellence that is CCS music. And the older students are proud to assist them on their journey, offering ideas, strategies, and encouragement along the way. In this sense, the band program is constantly building community within CCS, but it doesn't stop there. Our ensembles have demonstrated their learning and understanding of the national course standards for the arts by performing at various locations across our greater community. From the annual CSSU Jazz Festival here at CVU, to playing the national anthem at Centennial Field for opening day of the Lake Monsters, to Skype performances for our friends in Uganda, to entertaining guests at the Charlotte Senior Center, to our big culminating activity, the Discover Jazz Festival on Church Street in June, and many more. Our students do it with excellence and pride. Additionally, we send participants to District 3 festivals in both jazz and concert bands. In these various settings, our ensembles serve as ambassadors for Charlotte Central School. And this reaches beyond our rousing performances to how we sit on stage, tall and proud, to how we conduct ourselves off the stage, being a good audience, and even picking up our table when we are through enjoying our meals on the road, so to speak. The ensembles represent our community, and they do it with grace and dignity and make us proud every time. I have a few videos that wouldn't play, and I want to end with one, but could we have the lights, please? If somebody can hear the light switch. I'm going to quickly take you through one activity, and Lauren, if you want to pull up that last video, but don't hit play yet. People often ask me, what is it like in a classroom full of 67 kids? And I'm hearing some of the people talk about something. Now we have 67 kids and they all have instruments in their hands. And what is that like? Well, it's awesome. What I'll have it is, in the video, sadly wouldn't play for you, but I did take a little snapshot of the beginning of a rehearsal. Kids will be coming in after lunch in this case. And some people, they can pop their mouthpiece in, they're ready to just go for it. Other people are fiddling with ligature screws on their clarinets and putting pieces together, and they're warming up at the same time. And it might sound, passing by, like it's a bit chaotic, but it's part of the process. And when it's time to go, without using any words, I can simply just drop a downbeat. And they know what to do. They begin to play a warm-up now. And we'll stop. And a few more people will scurry to their seats and we'll go again. And now we're working on blend, we're working on starting together, we're working on stopping together, no words are used. And soon, this may happen. And it's really cute to see all the hands go up. 3. Okay, let's do it again. And we'll go, and it might be something like this. And the hands will go up, red. And what we're working on is eye contact, which is a critical piece for having an ensemble of 67 kids. The ironic part of that, and to me it warms my heart, they're also trained to, when they stop, freeze. eyes on me, my hands go down, their instruments go down. But what's really cute is, as we do this exercise, they'll do this and raise their hand at the same time. So we're working on eye contact. As far as sitting still at the very end, we're still working on that. Another video, just to give you a few strategies with a large class, and bear with me on this. Again, sadly, this video didn't transfer either. If I were teaching the effectiveness of silence on the listener, like I just did with you, I would have the kids experience it first. Very few words, very little time taken, and it was cute to see the video, and I would sure wish it would play, because as I did that same trick to them, I was videotaping. They're all sitting on their seats like, what are you saying? What is he trying to, what's going to happen? And the idea is, especially for the younger demographic, they want to play, and they think that music is everything that they play. But one strategy to get them to realize it's also what you don't play, and the effect of silence really captures the audience. And I think I just kind of captured you at the same time through that short exercise. Sadly, you couldn't see it captured with the kids. We use technology to learn good habits, like the importance of being in your seat and ready to play when the downbeat is given. Using an iPad and a projector, a photo can be taken just before downbeat. After we've warmed up and tuned the ensemble, the photo can be projected onto a large screen. And no one wants to be caught out of their seat or unprepared. And again, this can be done without saying a word, and the results are truly amazing. I've actually cataloged one ensemble through the whole year just to see, and it's amazing. Students self-assess their work as individuals and as ensembles through recorded performances and filling out self-assessments. They can be very honest. But in this case, they're always respectful. They're often tougher on themselves than I am, but it's in the spirit of improvement and being the best they can possibly be at that moment in their development. Lauren, if you wouldn't mind. I'm so proud, and we can hit the lights too, please, Kristen, thank you. I'm so proud of the growth of the students. And I think it should just play, buddy. Looks like it's working. Give it a click or two. I'd say just click right on the, just click right in the middle somewhere. It sure didn't work earlier. Here we go. Due in large part to this board's continued support, the support of our administration and wonderful faculty and staff, and the community at large, students at CCS have been able to flourish in music while building community and learning life skills that will make them successful in their high school and adult lives. When my brother and I were teenagers, our father told us, you might as well do something you love because you're going to have to work the rest of your lives anyway. I took his advice to heart. It is an honor to work at the Charlotte Central School. I look forward to coming to work every day. And I'm very grateful to work with the fabulous students in our outstanding school. And you can just fade it down now, Lauren, if you would. Thank you again for the opportunity to share this evening and for your continued support. And there it is. That was a little preview of our winter show. This was an assembly from last week. Much more to come, and I hope to see you at a concert soon. I'm going to turn it over to my wonderful colleague, Lauren Dabkowski.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to come and speak about the general music and choral program at Charlotte Central School. As a teacher who is new to CCS as of this fall, I have been already extremely impressed with the skill set and well-equipped nature of musicians. The first thing that stood out to me as being extraordinary was the high level of participation in the music ensembles. I have yet to see such involvement and dedication in any other music program in this age level. And the chorus is still growing, with inclusive and engaging recruitments such as Bring a Friend to Chorus Day, morning meeting showcases, impromptu performances during lunch and recess. Students can gain a deeper understanding of what it means to be an important member of a group. And chorus is shown as being accessible to all, while members gain pride in presentation and belonging. The general music program includes one 30-minute pre-K class per week, two 40-minute classes per week for kindergarten through 4th grade students, while the choral program includes one 50-minute class for 5th and 6th grade, and two 50-minute classes for the 7th and 8th grade students. The concert choir, which is a select auditioned ensemble, meets twice a week before school for 40 minutes. Choral students from CCS also participate in the District 3 Music Festival, the District 3 Jazz Festival, and the Children's Honor Choir. And if you could click, Andy, here's a picture from the District 3 Jazz Festival rehearsal, which took place this past weekend. This was the students' first festival of the year, and these experiences help build school pride as students represent Charlotte Central School, and they allow students to connect and learn from different conductors and singers while boosting self-confidence. And I actually had a conversation with one of my students at this festival during lunch saying, "Do you know Simon? We met Simon at our last district festival, and he's here now, and he said he's going to be at the next district festival." And these are relationships that these students are building throughout their entire careers. And I said, you know what? You're probably going to be running into Simon all throughout high school, and who knows where those relationships can take them, but they certainly are learning a lot from each other and learning really how to put themselves out there. And these conductors and students that they're working with are just helping them along in their process musically and cross-curricularly. So the preparative nature and high achievement of these performing groups is due in large part to the pre-K through 4th grade feeder programs and the foundations that are built in the general music classes, with focus on the contributions of educators and fundamentalists Dalcroze, Kodai, Orff, and Fire Robin. Students are using call and response, echo songs, circle games, and pitch exploration activities to develop auditory skills, fine motor skills, sense of rhythm, body awareness, and coordination of mind and body. This next slide is a picture of kindergarten classes engaged in a circle activity in which the leader sings and the class responds with an echo. Not only is this kind of a tricky way for me to see individually what's happening with these students, and a great way for me to assess vocal and rhythmic development throughout the year, but it also helps build the skills and confidence that a student needs to lead a group, a meeting, or a class. And the next slide will also show another student leading the group and other students readily awaiting, and it's very interesting if they change their tempo, if they change their pitch, or even a little inflection in the voice, the group echoes it. And it's really heartwarming to see. And it's also indicative of how they will act in the future in any setting, not just in the music setting. Our curriculum, is aligned with the Common Core standards for music education. If you could click the next slide. So the core standards are rooted in literacy and focus on creating, performing, and responding. And these are certainly skills that students need throughout their career in school and in the future. We need to be able to respond. We need to be able to perform, not only musically, but in conversation, and be able to engage and respond to not only music, but respond to each other, colleagues, community, anything that comes at them. So by the time that students join a large ensemble, they have the building blocks of these musical processes and participation in place to then develop interpersonal and intrapersonal skills that it takes to be a functioning member of a group. In this next slide, there's an example of student work from a lesson called What Do You Hear? Students are able to listen to and analyze music with certain scaffolds set in place. And this is a great way for me to gain a deeper understanding of how each individual student listens to and interprets musical performances and compositions. To be able to draw something that they hear and then use that drawing or words that they jotted down to present, it not only gives them a way to interpret what they're hearing at the time, but then the confidence and individuality to then talk about it and present to their classes. So this will also aid students in interpreting and analyzing literature, presentations, conversations, and situations in daily life. So a chorus rehearsal with 65 students is really a great place to develop cooperative learning. Large and small groups of students function as one with a singular purpose, which is communicating through music. If cooperation is a desirable attribute for adult business world, then students can learn it in music class. And I also have the same issue with technology here, but I do have an audio recording of our rehearsal starting. So this example is indicative of how students come together at the beginning of class to reach a common goal just by using music. And I use a special technique that I developed myself, actually on the spot. While students settle in and find their seats and their music, different call and response patterns are sung and echoed. So not only does this engage students in singing without even talking, but it also aids with ear training, pitch, and tonal development, and it's rooted in our American musical heritage with call and response and creating a unison sound that the students really just love doing. They love the challenge of this. What is she gonna do next? And same thing, any inflection, they know how to echo it. So here's an example of students coming into class, and I hope you can hear it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty loud. Should I enter the class here? So that is how a lot of our rehearsals start. And if they're getting a little wily in the middle of class talking about the great performance that they just heard or the great performance that they're waiting to show, then I'll use that, and it really brings them together. And not only that, but like I said, it's helping with the ear training, pitch exploration, all of these things that are helping along the way. And they'll take that with them. They say, can we do that again? So it's something that I really think not only helps with that common goal of coming together, but also things that they can take with them for the rest of their music careers. So everything learned in music ensembles cultivates 21st century skills that help students emerge into the workforce and become productive members of the community. It's our obligation as educators to expose students to a variety of opportunities for employment. And not only is music a large industry with many facets for graduates to pursue, but music classes can prepare students for achievement in any career or post-secondary path. I just ran into a student who I actually student taught here at CVU, and we were reminiscing about a Billie Holiday song that was playing in the store that we were in, and he said, you know, I think I'm going to go back to grad school for jazz composition. He told me that he had just majored in music performance, and that to me was really amazing to see that full circle. And then also, his friend right next to him said, yeah, I have an interview with this engineering firm, but I'm really not worried about it because, we're performers. We know how to do this. And that really just struck a tone with me because it's true. Any type of performance or situation where students are put on the spot, and it doesn't have to do with just improvisation, just the preparative nature of performing and, like we were saying before, and like Andy was saying before, being part of an ensemble, being part of something that's bigger than oneself, and knowing which pieces you can give and which pieces you can let the other parts of the community or parts of the group really assist you with, knowing where all of those things lie. So music education not only increases appreciation for one's own culture, it promotes multicultural understanding. It creates self-discipline, it allows for self-expression, it fosters creativity, boosts self-confidence and autonomy, and it's a complex body of knowledge worth knowing. Uses whole brain learning. So in the next slide, whole brain learning is something that obviously can be used cross-curricularly. So to study music is to study the learning process. Music is an academic subject that involves learning the major domains: cognitive, psychomotor, affective, and kinesthetic. So all of these things can help students along in any fields that they would love to pursue, and certainly within their educational career. Music education is also cost-effective for schools. With the arts and large ensembles in which an instructor to student ratio can be upwards of 1 to 200, students would be displaced and the influx would require more teachers and resources if the arts were to dissipate. So it integrates all areas of learning in life, in the curriculum. It serves as a basic form of communication. It heightens school spirit, which we saw also in all of our festivals. It raises community pride. It creates aesthetic sensitivity, develops abstract thinking, problem solving, and higher order thinking skills. It exalts the human spirit, and it encourages lifelong learning. I feel incredibly lucky to be able to reach students through music and observe their explorations and triumphs in such a well-developed and finely tuned music program. Thank you for your time and for your support in cultivating a successful and popular music program.
So Mark, can I just quickly
Yeah.
thank our presenters?
Oh, yeah, I was going to open it up for comments, but yeah, go, please.
So I jumped the gun, but I
Yeah,
wanted
you
to make
did,
a
but go
comment,
ahead.
because I didn't want to let it pass. I want to thank them both for the presentation and let them know how much we appreciate the music program at CCS. And I sort of, in light of the other discussion tonight, I feel the need to recognize Andy individually as, an example of a teacher who has a huge impact. Really, I think his commitment to excellence in his classroom, and obviously coming from a place of personal belief and passion, has had a real impact. And you're talking about a school climate where, not only are we getting great academic outcomes out of our music, our band program in particular, but I think the climate in that class is an example for the school. And, I think I understand, the frustration that the audience expressed with respect to, some of the other interactions with the school. And as a board member, I feel the same way sometimes that, it's an industry that's increasingly revolving around contracts, regulations, laws, rules, mandates. And it feels like sometimes we lose the passion and the common sense. And I would encourage really the administration to, in their dealing, with families, to understand that, so that's where families are, and a hyper sort of regulated, compliance-driven interaction with school teachers or administrators can be frustrating.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments for our presenters?
Yeah, and we talked earlier, but my son is one of those hyper kids that has hard time focusing, and school does not come naturally to him. His older sister, it did. And yeah, music definitely helps him focus. It's amazing how much he comes home and he's humming and singing. So yes, I want to thank you.
Thank
for
you, he's a pleasure. Thank you
Yeah.
for sending.
Yeah, and I'd actually like to say that, you know, my youngest daughter Phoebe has gotten way into band, and I think he might walk on water, because her grades have totally improved, and she does have some difficulties with learning, and what they say about music and learning the language and helping with everything else. So my hat's off to him, because he's helped a lot. And he's helped a lot of kids too. So he does amazing. And I'm sure you will too. I just don't know you. I just love this man.
He does walk on water.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Lauren, thanks for jumping right in. For most of us, it's our first time getting to meet you, and you did a great job. Thank you so much.
I feel like I should say something negative just to.
It's a love fest, my
No,
ladies.
I echo all the comments. I have daughters who are involved in both programs and enjoying both of them immensely. Second, I'm sort of feeling, because I know they're trying to get something working over there. I just want to comment on the quality of the presentations to the board over the past couple of months. Have been excellent, this one included. I've been impressed with the preparation that's come from everybody at the school over the past few months. Did I fill enough? So we're going to move on, if nobody has anything else. Reports to the board, and we're going to start with the principal's report. Anything you want to highlight for us?
Well, just so you know, the presentation is having a glitch, a
Okay.
technology
We're
glitch, so
working on it.
That's
can't pull mine up. So if we want to do something else first, or just first?
Well, so the principal's report includes the SBAC testing list,
Yeah.
and comparing us to the Vermont and the CSSU in general. But I want you I'd also like to acknowledge that our scores on the SBAC, which was the first year with the SBAC, were extremely competitive, not against just the state and the CSSU in general, but CSSU schools. The majority of the scores were the top scores in the district, which puts us among the top scores in the state. And perhaps, I was going to save this for director's comments, but perhaps you want to say a word about Ralph. CCS lost a member of its community this week.
It's a very deep loss to the whole community, students included, because he touched everybody. He was our maintenance staff person for the past 4 years, and he walked the walk of random acts of kindness. He would almost second guess ahead of anybody asking of what someone would need and step forward to try to help them. And he had a smile on his face, and he connected with the children. He connected with the staff. He was a real huge part of the community, and he will be sorely missed.
My youngest daughter, Rory, claims to have said hello to him every single day. Absolutely, she was in the car today and driving home, and I guess they just she found out today through other means. And she said, Dad, it would be all right if we made November 13th Ralph Day. I said, sure. It can be your Ralph Day.
Yeah, I almost thought that we should have done an email out to the CCS kids here, because my son who's in high school was very sad to hear about Ralph as well. Great guy.
Let's do something else really quick here. We'll jump to 5.2 real quick. CSSU debrief. actually not much on that agenda didn't make it to our agenda. We're talking about the same policy. For those of you that are interested in budgeting, there was a presentation on the special education budget for CSSU at 6 o'clock. I'm pretty sure it'll be available on RETN. Megan presented. It was worth your effort to watch it, to understand that portion of our budget. Did I miss something in particular?
No, I just think, as the people here in our greater community will know, we have some real serious budget challenges going forward. And just kudos to Megan. We're really prescribed about the services that we have to provide under special ed, and they just went through extraordinary efforts to review all the service plans after they were submitted to the state to figure out if there were any cost savings. So thank you to Megan. You know, I'm sure you would have done it regardless, but we are under some real challenging finance budget stuff coming up. So thanks.
And just some house cleaning going down here. 5.4, the VSBA debrief is actually Clyde, and so we'll push that off till next meeting. 5.5, the Act 46 committee report. We covered Act 46 sort of at the beginning of the meeting, and there's not much else in there. If anybody has a particular question about that, please please shoot me an email or something.
Mark,
Yes.
sorry, I just realized because there was a text flying back and forth. We forgot to, this would be an adjustment, but we should add a 7.3 action matter to confirm a January board meeting.
Yes. Yeah.
I just don't want to forget to say that.
Yep.
Sorry.
I actually had a note to myself and didn't adjust, so that'll be an extra action item. Whatever you want to do. Do you want to do the principal's report or the first quarter management report, whichever one? Okay, good. So principal's report, and Barbara is going to give us a quick presentation.
So you ask, what do I want to focus on? I will be focusing on climate, so it does fit with the concerns that are in front of us. So I want to start off saying, yes, there are concerns, they are valid, and there's lots to celebrate. So we will, I will make sure that we talk about both tonight. So next slide. So some of the goals of sharing this with you is just to gain an overview of the climate as it stands now at an overview level, understand some of the current behavior data as we have collected it, and some of the resources and interventions that are going on at this time. So there's an action plan, and the action plan was created as a draft by the previous administration, and it was made clear to me that there needed to be staff input on it and to really make it something that we own. So during the summer, I grouped up with some of the climate committee, and we started talking about what they're experiencing and what do they think we need. And the three broad goals are the same as what was previous, but we dug in perhaps in a different direction, which you'll see coming. So student goal, that it'll implement systems and structures to support the school being more safe and respectful. We all agree that is a really important goal. Staff goal, improving staff wellness and the morale of the staff. And the community goal, create systems and structures to gain greater engagement and communication. So before I go to this, I want to just jump to what was the next thing that we did. We took a look at the discipline plan as it had stood, and there were places that weren't as clear. I hear that there's room for more clarity, always is, but we worked during the summer to make the discipline plan clear, and so that it's a one document that connects piece to piece, does connect. Within that, we came up with consistent expectations and consistent consequences. There is then the teaching of that, which we did during the in-service days. We took the in-service days, and that is what we prioritized among all staff. We invited the paraeducators so that we could talk about what do we expect, what does it look like, what does it sound like. And what are we going to do if students don't follow that? How do we support them educationally? How do we support them also by having some kind of logical consequence, and also perhaps a piece of a privilege changing depending on the circumstances of what the child, the infraction. We also focused on growing our positive behavior system. It's a PBIS system. The school previously was a PBIS school. There were pieces already there, but there were pieces that were not fully in action, so we made a commitment to put it into action. So that we have postings across the school that express those express the expectations. We talk about it with the children. We have assemblies that talk about it school-wide, because the message needs to be clear. What do we expect and what does it look like? Another piece that we worked on with the staff is having really clear boundaries. And that's again about the expectations, but making certain that we're all on the same page with language around those boundaries, and everybody feeling comfortable with holding those boundaries and what to do to get support for those. That is the work that is happening right now. And what I'd say, we are building the system while we're trying to fly the system. You know, if they say you're building the plane and while flying, that is what's happening now. We're doing both simultaneously. So there are bumps, there are pieces, and it's going to take a while, but we're on a path for this. So now we'll go back to this picture. So this image of a tree that we're growing. Our climate is growing, it's improving, it's going to just keep getting better. This was the image that was created by the climate committee. This drawing was done by a student. We have a staff limb, a community limb, and a student limb. And the little apples, which you can't read, will be all the things that we'll be talking about quickly through the rest of this presentation, the things we are doing. There are lots of things happening to support the growth of this tree, which is a healthy climate. Student engagement. So one of the pieces that you may have not heard that much about, or if at all, is called exploratories. Exploratories are a K-8 project-based learning opportunity that we are starting, and we just had like our third meeting around it. It came from the climate committee, from input from the staff of how they want to do things that are more creative, that get students more engaged, and where students have choice. So exploratories is where students will have a choice of what activity they'd like to engage in for half a day that could be over multi-age classrooms. So you might have a K-8 grouping, you might have a K-4, you might have a 4-6 grouping of different activities, hands-on, experiential, not necessarily within the confines of the four walls of the school, but get the kids out into the community. Community will be invited in. So you'll see probably in the newsletter an opportunity for people in the community to get involved. This is where we can get really creative about what we do with kids. Service learning, some of you have heard of some of the beginnings of that program, that we have kids already spending Mondays serving lunch at the senior center. We also had students go and partake in the presentation for Veterans Day at the senior center. We have some people doing outreach with the food shelf to see if we can get kids involved there, and at the Charlotte Children's Center. Again, it's about kids getting out, practicing real life skills, and then also bringing community in. Senior Leadership Council, that has been in place, but we've beefed it up, that they're doing a lot of leadership, including running those assemblies that we do once a month. Again, bringing K-8 together to build a sense of pride and community. When kids own that school and they feel good about it, they do behave better. That's what that's about. Junior Leadership Council, that's for the youngers, fifth and sixth graders, and they're doing a lot of service. And one of the projects that they're working on is an alternative recess space with alternative activities. They're going to be fundraising to create the annex into a space that can be used for alternative recess opportunities. Again, we'll be inviting some volunteers in from the community to do activities with those students. Again, it's fun, it's engaging, gets kids focused on positive things to do during recess, and steers them away from boredom and what that could lead to. Next one, next slide. Community engagement. mentioned a few of these things already. Those are the students on the right who are speaking at the Senior Center for Veterans Day. And then you can see there are lots of other opportunities. Communication has been a big thrust. So Front Porch Forum, we do post on a regular basis things that are going on in the school. We're keeping up to date with that website. There are pictures that change weekly, so you can see what's going on. And the newsletter is another avenue to keep people informed. And we're going to try to grow this further with social media, and it's all in process. Next slide. Staff engagement. So that's us at one of the assemblies. We are engaged with the kids, so they know who we are. We're with them. They feel connected to us. Some of the other ways that we're engaging the staff and making them feel, bring out the best, making them feel great, includes the work of the Sunshine Team. That's a group of people that will just notice what's going on with some staff and then send them some cheer. The assemblies, as you can see over there. The PBIS program, also we have the staff engaged with that on multiple levels. There's staff breakfast. I just want to point out the cafe model meetings. We do those about once every 6 weeks, and that is an opportunity where all staff are having conversations on 1 or 2 topics and just talking. And it's from that model that we are getting a sense of the vision and all the intention and hope that the staff have, which we want to capitalize on because we have an amazing staff. Next slide. Multi-tiered system of social, emotional, and behavior support. Long thing, but pretty much the idea is that we have a tiered support system to meet all kids where they are around their social, emotional, and behavioral development. So there's a role for school counselors, planning room facilitator, and behavior coordinator. School counselors are really working at tier 1 for all students, providing a lot of prevention, support, and skills that they'll transfer to all parts of their lives. Planning room facilitator, that person provides immediate support for referrals that come to that room, processes with the kiddo, and then also provides regular check-in, check-outs, so the kids who need regular check-ins throughout the day for that boost of support, they can have that. And the behavior coordinator focuses on the most intense needs, helping with chronic behavioral needs, writing behavior plans, looking at data, addressing what has to be adapted within the school or classroom environment to support those students. Next slide. Planning room data. So the planning room data is the same thing as referral data. When children if they're not following the school expectations, they would be given a referral. Then they are sent to the planning room to process and chat with the planning room facilitator to talk about how they're going to do it differently next time. We track all of those referrals to the planning room. We track them and we also analyze it. Next slide. Accurate data. One of the goals, this has been done previously, but one of our goals this year was to have accurate data. We have been working to, I would say, encourage staff to use the system that we are building. We're not there yet. Not everybody's using it to the level that we want, but we have more accurate data. That means our numbers are more accurate so they can inform what we need to be doing. So we really want people to use that system so we can make informed decisions. Next slide. So we have about, at this time, from the beginning of the year to November 6th, about 221 referrals. When you divide that up, 80% are students, 80% of the students at CCS have no referrals at all, 80%. 17% have between 1 to 3 referrals, and then the remaining 3% have more than that, which is like 6+ referrals. That information tells a story. It tells information, and tells us where we need to also focus some of our energy. Next slide.
Wait, can you go back to that slide one for me?
Mm-hmm.
So 3% has what percent of the referrals?
So 5 students have 4 to 6 referrals. That is at 1%. 6 students have 7+ referrals. That's 2%. You can tell it's 6 students.
But
So
do you have a total for So those 11 students?
11 students.
Do you have a total for the growth, like just the number of referrals that they amount to?
That those students
Out
amount
of,
to?
out of the 221?
Let's see.
Because 7 plus could be any larger number.
So if 221, so it would be 3% of 220. No, that's not it. That's not it. It's the opposite. No. Let me think on that. Let me. Let's try the. So if the question that we want to capture though is how many referrals are those 11 students? Let's see if we get that. Referral by location. So the data allows us to get information. This information tells us where are these problems happening. Classroom is always expected to be the highest because that's where kids spend most of their time. Bus and playground. Not surprising for any school, but we took that data and said we need to do something. Next slide. So we started creating a positive bus system. It is new. It's still in the works, but it is moving there. We have trained bus drivers. We meet with them every month so far, and we've had given them specific training on the PBIS system. We've given also explicit instructions to the riders. We get on the bus right before they leave, and we go over, this is what's expected as you ride the bus. Positive incentive program, we're building that. That's where there would be some kind of system of noticing the students who are following the expectations. Intentional seating, that's happening now, where we're looking at where children sit. Reminders, we have posted on the buses. Bus bags, that's to keep some kids occupied. Again, those rides are a bit long for some kids, and if they are not engaged, it leads to them making choices that are not always the best choices. So this is in the works. Creating a next one, using again the data about location, creating a positive recess system. Again, an area that we are aware needs some attention. Training paras in the recess system. I've personally trained them already 3 times. Not enough yet. There needs to be more training and more training. And alternative recess activities, those are in the works. We have a little bit already in place, but I've already mentioned that we are creating a space for that, and we're pulling in community members to help us with that, as well as staff members who may have an extra time block available to help with that. Again, an incentive program for recess and teaching the recess skills for students. This project, active. We're working on this every day. Next slide. Referrals by gender. So this is, it's pretty startling when you see this. But I saw this and I go, let's dig deeper. Let's really understand what this is. Next slide. There are 9.
We can't read those headings in the bottom.
I'll read it for you. Males. So this one, 192 is male, and 29 is female. Okay, so it's male. Males with 3+ referrals is 9. Males with 8+ referrals is 6. That 6 is included in that other number, so 9. So out of that 11 of the other students that we had seen in that other number, 9 are males. And if you go back to the other slide, you get a sense of, we're talking about, remember we were trying to find out how many referrals? We're talking about 190s. Okay, just to give you, remember that someone was asking about how many referrals are around? So out of that 221, we're talking about high numbers.
So out of 221, 190 are from 11 children?
Well, at least this one says 9 children. It says 9 out of 11.
Okay.
Yep. So this tells us there's some things we need to do here, for sure. But it is again focused on we need more intensive supports for those specific children. Next slide. What did this inform us to do? Well, first we started creating some real specific social, emotional, behavioral support plans for those students. And that's been the work of the behavioral coordinator, really helping us with that. Then we're also having regular class team meetings to identify the accommodations to meet those students' needs. Training ourselves in gender, trauma, and cultural competency. We have, during our in-service coming up on the 23rd and 24th. The 23rd, we have an expert, Rebecca Haslam from Burlington Schools, won Teacher of the Year. One of her she focuses on building cultural competency within schools and among staff. In helping us.
Excuse me, Barbara,
Yes.
I'm finding it really hard to pay attention. So if we can either focus on Barbara or go out in the hall, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
In helping us become more trauma informed. Again, so how do we respond better to the needs of some students across the school to become more trauma informed? We have an expert, David Melnick, who'll be coming in and training the staff in just understanding how trauma impacts the brain and development, so that we get smarter. And then gender is coming, that we'll be working with Rebecca Haslam also around gender. Referrals by grade. So this information also tells a story. It's like, okay, K is way up there, and 6 is coming in with some other needs there as well. What did we do around that? When we saw that this need was rising, we moved in to be responsive by moving paraeducators to help support and really get the classrooms to be at the level we want them to function. Our hope was to build the capacity of the staff so that it's not just a Band-Aid of putting paraeducators in that room. We succeeded. We had moved 2 people in and we moved 1 out because the capacity has been built. That was the work of, again, the behavior coordinator working with the team. So next slide. So then we saw that the 6th grade need, it was really talking to us. So then the paraeducators, we have a paraeducator back in the 6th grade and we have a paraeducator in the K. Again, being responsive to the needs based on data. That's our goal, is to keep meeting the needs and responding to them. Next slide. So there has been a positive impact of the behavior coordinator that we are already experiencing. All of our systems are working effectively because of the work of the behavior coordinator. So the planning room is working because that planning room where children go to process when they do any misconduct or don't follow our school expectations, that now is functioning. There's someone there to meet with the kids and respond immediately. And so it's when you have all these puzzle pieces, you need each piece to be working for the next piece to be working. So this is part of our whole puzzle, and behavior coordinator really helps it work. We're also responding to the acute behaviors more timely and effectively, and we're starting to build capacity, which was the goal that we first came to with, that we need to build the capacity of the staff, the paraeducators and the teachers. This is pretty much the end. Open to questions. So this is a work in progress, but we're working hard on it. It is a commitment. I came into this with that commitment. I stand behind that commitment, and while not perfect, we're listening very closely to everything you're saying.
Thank you, Barbara, that was fantastic. So informative. I love this, the music teachers bring the stand. It's perfect, right?
So I will open up for comments and questions, if anybody has anything in particular at the moment.
I have a question of Debbie Deal. What constitutes a referral?
If you do not follow the school expectations, respect self, respect others, respect property, and how it looks from when we have outlined for every location in the school what it looks like and sounds like.
Okay.
It is written, every teacher has it, every room has it posted. If you do not follow that, then it's a referral. And the misconduct can fall under different levels. So I should back up. If it is a minor level, then it's managed in the classroom. If it's the next level, then it's managed in the planning room. And if it is a third one, it's managed by administration.
So in the classroom, determining minor, major levels, has that, I was a teacher, so I know some tolerance levels are different in every classroom. Is it more level setting? Is there been discussions about this is what we define as minor, handle it, versus
this escalated, we need to do.
Regular conversations. And I
Okay.
wouldn't say that we're not there yet, where I can say, oh, we're all calibrated. No, but
Right.
that's the work, is to
Okay.
get us calibrated. Those conversations are happening.
Okay, thank you.
He
Andrew was next.
Thank you, Mark. You know, I'm really glad Andy Smith was here because he really is sort of the soul of the school, I think. And I did go to the special ed meeting prior to this. And, you know, it's more just an observation. You know, special ed, what I learned tonight is that, you know, and I guess this isn't how we like to say it, but you sort of flunk into special ed and you can get out of special ed by rising above the 15%. So if you fall below the 15% academically, you get, and I understand that there's no flexibility with respect to the resources that we commit to special ed, that they're mandated. I just can't help but notice in this data that 80% of the kids don't have any involvement with the opportunity room and the special counselors and the behavioral specialists. It's 20%. And even that, you know, it's even a smaller percentage that are more of the frequent visitors, it sounds like. You know, it would be nice, I think, if we, you know, maybe could come in and like have a presentation on what we're going to do for the top 15 or 20% of the spectrum. And I'm looking forward to working through the budget with the board, and I know how tight it's going to be. And when I hear that, you know, it sounds like that we need to commit more resources to some of these issues. And you know, there's part of me that thinks if we can get a couple of nuns and some rulers, you know, we might be able to like get things kind of back on track. But I know that's not practical. Obviously, I said that was obviously a joke, but just an observation. Thank you.
To go back to the first question about what constitutes a referral. When I've gone into the classroom, they are posted and there are cards and they're different colors. And I believe, I've never seen them up in the middle school, but in the from kindergarten to 4th grade, the cards are there. I think one of the things that could be helpful is we did have one class for the substitutes, which was awesome because we didn't have that last year. But I think maybe having multiple, because when you're in a teaching environment, and you know, the kids are going to try and take advantage because we all did. That's what you do when a sub comes in. You try to read your book or do something else.
Well, and you're a pushover, so you know.
Right, well, exactly. So, you know, and the thing is that, you know, I take it seriously. The teachers give me, you know, things that they want me to accomplish during the day, and I try to do that. Not knowing when to get the referral, and then not knowing how to get whoever needs to come in. And I experienced this on Friday where one student, she actually came up, she's like, Mrs. Marshall, we have these cards. I'm like, I know, but I don't have time to read all the cards and figure it out while 16 of you are trying to do what you're told, but only one of you isn't, and I don't. So I finally, I pulled up a card and there was a red one and it said, they go across the hall. So I said, you need to go across the hall. And the student did, and then came back and was a whole different kid. So whatever happened, it kind of worked. But I think, just for some feedback, I think that, yes, they are in the classrooms, and I think for the teachers, it appears to me that they're very, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, like this is what you do. But for those of us that come in, and I think you may be missing some referrals, because for those of us that aren't there all the time, when we come in, it's kind of like, oh boy, here we go. And you kind of just go by the seat of your pants and kind of figure it out on the fly. So that's my.
Thank you. Rose?
I think it would be interesting to know, it's 11 kids, like you have a number of 11 kids. Okay, so 11, that's not so bad, right? But what's the impact that that kid is having on all of the other kids? And what's happening with those other kids? Because you've got 11 kids that are at a pretty high referral rate, so that must be impacting everybody else. And I guess my question is, like, it's 11 kids and there's a lot more kids, so, you know, these 11 kids are getting a heck of a lot of attention, and it just doesn't, there's some data there that's missing. Like, what's the impact on everybody else?
Well, I think that's why Barbara Ann and Stephanie put in place and did the request to add the position and have totally revamped the system, because there is the recognition that you can't learn if the kid next to you in the classroom is not behaving appropriately. So I think, time will tell if what we're doing is making that impact. And I hope it is. I have a really positive feeling based on your presentation and how serious you're taking it. I think we're going to see some big changes.
So I have another question, because I have a kid in the 6th grade. I thought we were going to have like 2 paras in the 6th grade when we did the budget thing last year. Like, were we having 2? Like, I thought there was something like.
We moved 2 paras into the 5th grade. When they moved from 4th to 5th grade, there was large class sizes, 28, 29.
Right.
Those class sizes no longer exist. Your 6th grade is not even the biggest class in the school anymore.
Okay.
And I believe there's still 1 para in the 6th grade. We did move, or not we, the administration moved a para down to help out in the lower grades where there was a need. But yes, so there is, and I believe there's a student teacher in the 6th grade as well at this point. So there's bodies up there. Look, if it was up to me, there'd be 1-to-1 teacher to student ratio, but we do work with constrained resources.
Oh, no.
And we face some challenges here and there. And we realize, you saw the data yourself, there's classes that need some help. I have seen the work of both of the leadership councils, the senior and the junior. That's a great program. I think the recess stuff is fantastic. The bus bags was a great idea, whoever came up with that, just to have something to do on the bus. This was a really informative. Climate is something we've been talking about at this board for going on 2 years now. That was great, and the updates are greatly appreciated. Again, I come right back to what I said after Andy's presentation. The presentations at the board over the past few months have been really informative, really good.
Yeah, Barbara, let me just say, very informative, but also what came across to me was the sort of a sense of urgency and action that we didn't maybe see in previous years. A lot of the data, we still see a distribution where there's clearly an issue to be addressed with some of the very high referral cases. And that's something I would hope the board can get another report back on.
Mm-hmm.
But it's clear to me that you've committed yourself to be very proactive and just pass on, the community involvement piece, which we haven't talked a lot about. I got some very nice feedback from a community member who sort of runs a local institution, was, very impressed with not just the fact that you reached out, but the sort of the sincerity and positivity behind it. So, thanks for that.
I echo that too. And sort of along the same line, I really like the way you're presenting the written material to us. I think it's really well done, and thank you. I think it's great.
Anything else?
Besides, are we talking just about climate or just about the principal's report?
Oh, you got more?
No. Well, I just wanted to put
Yeah.
just one little thing that jumped
Yes.
out at me in the data about SBAC. And, we always hear from the community, of course, our scores should be high, blah, blah, blah. But what really struck me is between the proficient or above, in a lot of categories, our level 4 is significantly higher than our level 3 students. I don't recall seeing that data before, and I know it's a different test, but that really...
It's a different, harder test.
Yeah, so that really jumped out at me as
yourselves on the back. That's the truth.
is a good thing. So, and it's also sort of a testament that the work supervisory union-wide that we've been doing to get teachers ready to teach to the Common Core, so they didn't wait till the day we had to do it. They've been working towards that goal, and I think that's demonstrated in those numbers.
And the comment that I wanted to make, Barbara Ann, was that I really appreciate the amount of time time and energy that went into collecting all of that information. And I know that there are some regulars that come to the board meetings, but I wish there was a way, another forum for you. You know, we've had back to school night, with the quarterly PTO meetings, but this information I feel like needs to be shared with the community in another way, just so people know what all the work that's going on. I mean, it's astounding to me, the amount of thought and energy that's gone into this in just a few months, like how much you've done. So I don't know what that, you know, this is a forum, but I wonder if there's just another way to get this information out into the community, because that was an awful lot of work, and I don't know how to, I mean, it's word of mouth will be, you know, one thing that people will be talking about, but, and I don't know if it's the newspaper or what, but it just seems like there's some really amazing things going on at the school right now, and I would like to stress, I don't know if it'd be a community coffee sometime this winter, but just another way that's not a budget meeting, it's not the board meeting, it's not the PTO meeting. I just feel like there's some other community forum. I think it would be great to let people know what is going on and to meet the behavioral specialist. So, since I don't know who this person is.
Anything else, principal's report? Okay. I don't want to keep everybody too late, so let's go to discussion matters.
Do you want me to do 5.6 baseline budget?
Yes, we do, because we adjusted the agenda. 5.6, baseline budget. Distribution.
So that's all it is, it's just you give it to us?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have it for your first budget meeting.
So our first budget
Take
meeting
home and
is in December 1st, so 2 weeks-ish, after Thanksgiving. So we will review this and talk about this more then. As a general comment, to anybody watching on RETN or in the audience, we are facing a tight budgetary year due to parts of Act 46 that will restrict greatly what we can do with our budget. And you'll hear more discussion about that on December 1st, so please come. Now moving on. Thank you for the reminder. 6.1, policy. There's nothing huge here. Does anybody have any discussion on, we're actually not changing any of these very much, on the policies listed?
No, and Clyde's not here if we were, so I think if anyone has anything, we should contact him.
Well, and they'll be back on the agenda for action next meeting. So moving on, 7.0. 7.1, approved purchase services. These are the services we purchased from the CSSU. They're on page 56 of the report. Do I have a motion to approve the purchase services?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? 7.2, perhaps the most important thing on our agenda. We have to approve the grade 3 Montreal Biodome field trip. This comes to the board because we are moving children across international borders. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 7.3, which is an adjustment to the agenda. We're going to add, I'm asking to add another meeting, January 19th. It will be a roundtable school board meeting here at CVU, with the topic being Act 46 and the report that we're writing, which you'll have in advance and able to comment on at that meeting.
What time?
5:30.
5:30, we're doing it at 5:30?
That's what it says here.
Okay.
I move that we add a January 19th meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So do we have any reason to pull anything out of the consent agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved?
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next meeting dates, there's lots of them. December 1st, at the library at the school, starting at 6. Come, bring your dinner, we'll be there a long time. December 15th, again at the library about the budget. January 5th, again at the library about the budget. January 19th, here about Act 46. I'm not gonna read them all, but those are the particular ones to Charlotte. That is it for the public agenda. Do I have a motion to move us into executive session?
Mark, sorry.
Yes.
Just the agenda reflects that your community forum is first, then Act 46, then budget meeting, but it's actually.
But that's, yeah, it's flipped, yeah.
So just
Yeah,
so
so
that
it's
people know that.
6 o'clock for budget forum, 6:30 for budget meeting, 7 o'clock for Act 46. Those times will never hold, but that's the plan.
Before moving into executive session, I know I didn't notice it wasn't on the agenda, director's comments. Can I just do 2?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so I just wanted to congratulate Vicki Nelson. It was in part the CSSU
Yes.
report that she was featured in her professional organization.
The national
The
magazine.
National School Council Journal, and she's been invited to speak at their summer conference. And also, we have 3 CCS graduates, Tatum Braun, Silas Cleveland, and Finn McGargan, who were named National Merit Scholarships commended students. So I think a lot of that is the preparation that they got at our school, and so congratulations to them and to the teachers who helped prepare them.
Others, directors' comments before we move into?
All right,
Some piece over about Rob. So, thank you, regulars, for coming.